In Louisiana, when somebody dies, we have a what we call a wake. And at the wake, there's lots of food. Now, I'm not talking about a couple of sandwiches, maybe a tray of cookies and some coffee and some tea to drink. I'm talking about pots, big pots, full of gumbo and etouffee and shrimp jambalaya. I'm talking um, big roast and wonderful slabs of beef. Honey, they bring out the alligators and serve them up in Louisiana. They don't mess around when it comes to food. And at a funeral, there's a lot of food. I used to think as a child that the reason they had so much food was because the people who were grieving were hungry. And when you were grieving, you needed a lot of food to take care of the pain you were feeling. And I understood that because whenever I was in pain, I would go to food. So I thought the funeral and the wake in Louisiana was somewhat of a validation to how I was feeling and my relationship with food. Well, when I had a big loss when my sister died. And that was the first time somebody really close to me ever passed away, so that was the one that hurt me the most. And when my sister died, it was very hard on me. I really had some problems dealing with her death. Right after my sister died, about a year later, I got pregnant, and I had been praying and really begging God for this baby. And I delivered him, and the day after he was born, he passed away. So now I have to deal with my sister dying and my son dying. Oh. Kathleen was in trouble when I was grieving my sister and my son. My father passed away. Oh. Kathleen was really in trouble. I spent every waking hour trying to not think about the pain that losing my sister and my son and my father was causing me. And I would run to food to take care of the pain. Well, honey, food does not take care of pain any more than it gives you love or any more than it can sedate your bad feelings. Food is just a temporary fix, as we all know. But I needed that fix more than just once a day. And I found myself running to food almost the entire day. I'm talking into the night because I would wake up and not be able to sleep. And I would find myself sitting in front of the refrigerator eating to take care of the grief that I was feeling. Trouble was, I did not want to face the grief. I did not want to face the pain that I was feeling. And I thought that if I ate, it would distract me from the pain. Well, it did for a little while. But I always came back to the food because I still had the pain. Still didn't want to deal with it. Still didn't want to face it. Didn't want to accept it. Didn't want to face it. So finally I had to get help. I had to go to a therapist. I had to find someone to help me through that experience, and they call it post traumatic stress disorder. And I didn't have just one of them, but I had three all at one time, and it was really hard for me to deal with. And that's when I started to learn about emotional eating and why we run to food for the many ways that we do to curb and to solve our emotional problems. When you have a traumatic experience, like a death in the family, you want to you don't want to face the pain. You don't want to face the reality of it. And it's kind of easy to try and distract yourself and to run from it. But I'm going to tell you the truth. It is better to face the pain and to deal with it than to put it off and to try to mask it and disguise it with other things. Because eventually you are going to have to deal with that pain. Now you may be grieving the death of a loved one. You may be grieving the death of a relationship. You may be grieving the death of a dream. To me, the death of a dream is oh very traumatic. As is the death of a relationship when you're in love with somebody and that comes to an end. And most of us think grieving is just about loved ones when they pass away, but that's not the truth. We grieve the loss of many things, and when we do, we don't always want to face the reality of what has happened. We don't want to let them go. We don't want to let it go. But there comes a time in our lives when we have to face the reality of that object, situation, person being out of our life. We have to let them go. We have to say goodbye. It's not easy. It is not easy, but it needs to be done. There's only one way to do it. You just have to face the fact that they are gone, and you have to steady yourself and realize that they're gone and you have to say goodbye. Now, many times we are dealing with guilt, shame, a lot of regret. Now, we correlate those feelings with the passing of the loved one, and we think we're feeling guilty because we're blaming ourselves for them dying. But really, that's not the case. What's really happening is we're blaming ourselves because we did not do the things that we felt like we needed to do for them while they were here. We are blaming ourselves for their lost relationship because we feel like we did not do things that were right, that needed to be done, and because of that, we lost the relationship. It goes for anything that we lose, we blame ourselves, but mostly when a loved one passes, we're blaming ourselves for the things that we wanted to do for them, but never did. And that causes a lot of regret. And that'll cause you to run to the food as well. Do yourself a favor. Forgive yourself. Your loved one who has gone on, they have forgiven you. They don't hold you responsible for any of the stuff that you promised to do, didn't get a chance to do. That is over. It is done. It is water under the bridge. And it's time for you to just face the fact that you did everything you could do while they were here. Maybe you made some mistakes. Maybe you have some regrets. But you can't keep blaming yourself for what happened. Now, once you get to the point to where you realize that and you can forgive yourself, then you can move on. And then the food, once again, cannot take the place of the reality of the situation and just facing facts, letting go, and moving on. And that's my thought for today. I hope you guys are getting something out of this because this one was tough for me.